Hello everybody, I'm Greg Haddad from Bailey Glasser. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be learning how to make what's called kusa. Now if I was to ask somebody, are you ready to make kusa? They would be completely unnerved by the whole process of making something that's probably unfamiliar to them. And that's really no different than what we see with our clients and our prospective clients, is a lack of familiarity with the legal process and the legal system that makes them really apprehensive about seeking out a lawyer to evaluate whether or not they have a case. A lot of people think that, it's going to cost too much, or I don't really know what my legal rights are, or it's going to be intrusive. People are going to be asking me questions about my background that are sometimes personal, and you have to, as a lawyer, educate your clients to alleviate that anxiety and make sure they understand not only what we can do for them in achieving compensation, but walking them through the process of the legal system so that they're comfortable with it and understand going forward what it's all going to entail. Now it's important, despite the apprehension about the legal system and what it's going to involve, to make sure you seek out an attorney early on. Because all lawsuits have what's called statute of limitations, which means a deadline by which you have to file a lawsuit. And we understand that it's sometimes overwhelming. And when I talk to clients and I'm having them explain exactly what's happened, what injuries they have, how it's affected their lives, I think to myself, not only are they dealing with all of those overwhelming issues in their personal life, that adding another dimension, getting involved in the legal process, can seem sometimes to be just too much for them to handle given all of the things that they're trying to juggle with rehabilitating from an injury, seeking some type of medical care, making sure that their job and their finances are taken care of if they're no longer able to work. And we understand all those things raise the level of anxiety in people. And it's my job and our job as a firm to make sure that we take away all of that anxiety to make sure that your legal rights are protected. You understand the process. So as we work as a team moving forward between myself and you, or my firm and you, we have a clear understanding of what it's all going to involve. And once they get that understanding, and I start out having that discussion with the client from the very outset, because they need that information. Information to your client is power, and power builds confidence, and the information builds trust. They understand what you're expecting of them, and they understand what they should expect of you. And when that trust is developed and that confidence that somebody has their back, it's amazing how all of that concern about being involved in a lawsuit washes away, and they can focus on getting better and letting us handle the lawsuit to make sure that they get the right doctors involved, they have the right care, and if they're out of a job or they've got mounting legal bills, that all of that is going to be taken care of. Now let's talk about kusa. It's stuffed squash. Kusa is the Mediterranean word for it, Lebanese word for squash, and here it is. And you can buy these in a grocery store. And what you do, and I've already done it for you, is you core out the middle of the squash. Now you're ready to stuff it. And what do we use here? We're using lamb, we're using rice that's been washed. You want to make sure you wash your rice to get rid of all the excess starch, as well as making sure that the water absorbs into the rice, so when you cook it, it cooks well and it cooks evenly as you're preparing your dish. You're always going to use salt, you use pepper, we use a lot of cinnamon, so that's why I've got this big cinnamon container, and you use allspice. So once we prepare our mixture, then it's time to stuff it. And that's all there is to it. All the apprehension you might have had, just like your apprehension about being involved in a lawsuit and the legal process, it's much to do about nothing, and you can get through it, because that's my job and our firm's job to make sure you get through that process as efficiently and to help you out as best we can. Now, we're gonna talk about now cooking the squash. So you're just really loading the squash in to the pot. We have some tomato sauce, and you're just gonna pour it right over your squash. Put the lid on, start it up, bringing to a boil, and then once you bring it to a boil, you reduce it to a slight simmer, and 25 minutes later, you got a fantastic meal for the family. You know, this might come as second nature to me, making this kind of food, because it's Lebanese food. I came from a Lebanese heritage and a Lebanese family, so this, you know, cooking in the kitchen and making these dishes has been second nature to me all my life, because we were expected as kids to help prepare the food, because we wanted to make sure that, or my parents did, that we carried those skills throughout our lives, and we could hand those down to the next generation. It's kind of interesting because when I was in college, and my mom would send food back with me, and sometimes it was Lebanese food, and my roommates who I'd say, you know, come on, and you know, let's all share in this. You know, they first were like, you know, some of this looks a little bit different than what I'm used to. I'm not familiar with this, and they would have some reluctance to try something new. But once you got them over that hurdle, it's amazing how all of those misconceptions about what Lebanese food or Lebanese cooking is all about. And that's really not much different than the way you approach the practice of law, in the sense that there are three things that we have to do in both cooking and in our legal practice. We have to plan, we have to prepare, and we have to execute. And you need a lawyer that can do all three of those things, that can plan your case and understand and explain to you all the nuances of your case, what the plan is moving forward, how they're going to prepare your case to get the best result for you, and what they have in terms of skill, resources necessary to execute that plan to reach your fullest potential in your lawsuit.